Have you ever seen the movie Cars by Pixar? I have, and I'm sure many of you have as well, as children. As a little kid, I was fascinated by the movie Cars, and I always wondered how a world like that would exist. I am sure you have, and have questions about the legitimacy of the car universe, such as why do all the cars have door handles? If there is nobody in there to ride in them, the Cars movie, while its intended audience is for children, leaves many questions and unexplained problems with its universe. After spending time watching and researching forums with people with similar questions, I bring questions and potential answers to your curious desires. I'm going to be trying to solve the question of how cars die, how they might be made, and if humans ever coexisted in the same world. We are first going to try to solve the problem of how cars die in the Cars universe. We can see many examples of cars dying, such as Doc Hudson dying in between the first and second movies. But we never actually see any cars dying, or are told how the cars die in the first place. So, did the Doc end up dying of old age, and does that mean that his parts just eventually stopped working? In the real world, we can always fix or do an engine swap with a car, but in the Cars universe, once your engine stops working, is it the same as the soul going away? And if you can infinitely repair cars, does that just make them almost like a vegetative state, or even car zombies? There are many questions to be asked and only a few possible answers we can try to come up with. One plausible theory is that a car dies simply the day it stops working, and that would put the lifespan of a car much smaller than us humans. Yet, we still see a Model T representing the older car in the films, so in that case we can theorize that they may actually live as long as us. When it comes to a car accident, probably, if a car is damaged beyond repair or what we might consider totaled, then that must be what determines the time of death. Because we know that cars someday die. How were they born, or made in the first place? We can see that there are children in the car universe, as shown in the stands, at the racetracks, in all of the movies. We can see much smaller cars next to the larger cars that we can infer is their parents. These cars in the movies use child voice actors and make childish remarks that can only mean just that. They are children. So where did the children come from? Are they shipped kind of like a crane delivery we see in Dumbo and in children's books from the respective car factories? Or, since they are somehow smaller cars, could they possibly have come out the tailpipe of their motherly car? These seem like plausible ideas that could explain what happens. As is, we don't see many references from where cars come from in the movies. But there are hints at the attraction and even love in movies, which could lead to this phenomenon. Which leaves the final question of how do cars grow up? Do their parts naturally get bigger, kind of like us organisms? Or are their parts just gradually replaced with bigger ones as they grow up? Many questions, and only us to decide what we want to believe in. There is one final question. Did humans ever exist in the Cars universe? Well, we can see in the Cars movies, and next time when you notice it, you will probably start thinking about this, that there are door handles on the cars. Does this ultimately mean that there could be humans after all inside the cars? Or did the cars somehow rise and form a rebellion to cause some great human genocide? Whatever it is, it's heavily inferred that humans no longer exist, and if they ever did in the Cars universe. There are many signs that make us believe that they could have at once. Then we move on to the Cars history. It is all shown and talked about how there were major historical events, such as the World Wars and even the Recession. So in that case, is there some car that represented Stalin? We can only assume so, but in any case, the cars seem pretty happy now without humans. There are still many ways that cars could have died, that we haven't talked about. But to our knowledge, we could assume it would probably consist of old age or a collision. And when it comes to new cars being born, we could probably say that it has some sort of care delivery system, that all come from factories. We could also mention that humans could have existed in the Cars world. These questions and theories make the Cars world much more interesting in my own eyes, and I'm sure it'll make a big difference in your eyes too. So, the next time you're watching Cars, maybe you're going to also be thinking about where the great Lightning McQueen came from.